Um, First, I want to say, as I start to speak, Keith knows that he has a commitment at 2 o'clock, so I'll try to be finished before that. A couple things. The piece that you just heard was written especially for the Pan Am Memorial Service, which our choir has done for a number of years. Those of y'all who might remember, in 1988, there was a plane carrying a lot of people, including a number of Syracuse University college students, that was shot down by Libyan terrorists over Lockerbie, Scotland in 1988. And so I just wanted to give you a little background of that piece. Now it becomes a little more difficult. I want to tell you about my mom, but first, I'm going to turn to my choir family. Thank you all so much for being here. I love you so much. We have people here that are blood family members, chosen family members, close family friends, church family, choir family. Most especially, Jesus Christ is here with us. Amen. Let me tell you all a little bit about my mom. She was born Jewel Caroline Galloway on August the 8th, 1926. So funny. I tried to send some information to Cousin Sherry last night, and in the 21st century, autofill tried to fill it in as August the 8th, 2026. She was born in Clay County, North Carolina. Where is Clay County, North Carolina? Well, growing up here in Northern Virginia, you tell people, well, it's in Western North Carolina. Oh, you mean Charlotte? No, I mean way Western North Carolina. They said, oh no, you mean Asheville? No, I mean very Western North Carolina. Oh, you mean Cherokee? No. This is rural. It is 100 miles west of Asheville. It's 2 hours north of Atlanta. That's, for those of y'all who certainly know me, that's how I wound up in Atlanta. She was raised there, and then in August of 1945, she was getting gas, and she met a man who helped her, whose name was Keith Scroggs. And depends on which side of the story you hear. My mom tells the story that he jumped out of the car and he was willing to help her with anything. Now, if you heard my dad's tale, he said basically that she just begged him for help and whatever happened, happened. They courted for all of 2 weeks, and they got married on August the 24th, 1945. They were married until my father went to be with the Lord on Veterans Day of 1991. Then Mom and I were in Atlanta for a couple of years after that, and we decided that we wanted to come back home to Northern Virginia. And I certainly am glad I did, because about a year and a half after I'd been here, I met a beautiful lady that has been my wife now for 22 years. Well, enough of the serious stuff. I want to tell you two very humorous stories about my mom. The first happened in 1972. One day, they were sitting in their living room. I was upstairs. And I had purchased a record by a country pop gospel artist named Chris Christopherson. It was popular and named Why Me, Lord? Well, the flip side of that song was called Jesus Was a Capricorn. Well, all of a sudden, my parents heard about that, and they just started cracking up. And they couldn't understand. Jesus was a Capricorn. Well, just it hit them like lightning, particularly my mom, and she started cracking up and cracking up and cracking up. And it took 5 minutes, I think. Well, I came down in the middle of this, and finally my mom said, "Why, Keith, that's Christmas." Because they couldn't remember when Jesus was born. The other story happened a few years later. I was, in 1976, I had always had the gift of gab and had wanted to go into radio. Well, I got a job in August of 1976 doing weekends for a radio station in Fairfax. Now, the radio station still exists today. If you were to turn on the radio at 1310 kilohertz, you would find it. However, since 1983, I wouldn't have been able to work there because it's Korean. But the towers are still there. For those of y'all who live in this area, it's behind Paul VI High School. Well, at that time, the station was adult contemporary, like our own 97.1 Wash FM today. And we billed ourselves as WEEL Northern Virginia's radio. And I was John Scott, who worked weekends and did a Sunday morning air shift and did weekend sports. Well, on Sunday mornings when I had to go out and do my air shift, my father took me to the radio station and helped pull all my cartridges and where I couldn't see them and whatnot, and helped me write logs for the commercials and so forth and so forth. Well, I moved ahead into the story until February 1979. My father had a back injury and was in George Washington University Hospital in traction. So this particular Sunday, my mom had to take me. Well, one of the things that also there at Paul VI High School is the McDonald's right there. It's been there for a long, long time. Well, then it used to open at 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings. So what I would do is I would have mom or dad, in this case mom, go to McDonald's and pick up breakfast. And then I made sure that I played something like Disco Inferno or Turn the Beat Around by Vicki C. Robinson, or something that was a long song that gave me a chance to eat breakfast. Well, this particular day where mom was there, she wasn't used to the microphone being live. And so what happened was, I go on the air and I'm like, 1310 WEEL, this is John, good morning. In the next few minutes you're going to have music coming up from Elton John, the Beatles, Bob Seger. And about that time, I can hear clear as day through my headset, which means it went out over the air. You hear my mom with this deep southern twang going, quote unquote, "Well, I'll be dad Jim, I forgot the napkins." She was a loving, loving soul. And for those of y'all who knew her, you know that she will be missed. Her soul is with Jesus. And now I'm going to bring my wife over to say something.